Hey guys, it's the Southern Prosperity Podcast to be with you, bring you a little bit more information about what we're about and what we're thinking about. We have things that we're dealing with. How are you doing, Christina?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good.
Awesome.
I'm Mary. This is Christina. We're called the Southern Prosperity Podcast, and I've been dealing with some really heavy stuff this week. I've got some friends that have had some health issues, dear friend that's on life support, and we were just talking about end of life decisions.
Yeah, I kind of think you're going to think I'm crazy.
Not
but it's probably something that happened back in the day, but okay, I'll tell you the story.
Okay.
Whenever I was maybe a teenager, a lady went into a coma and she was on life support, and her husband had to figure out, like, should we end her life now or let her stay in a coma for 5 more months and give birth to their baby?
She was pregnant.
She was pregnant. And so they kept her alive to keep the baby alive. And when her body went through the physical and chemical, everything naturally,
Emotional,
giving birth naturally, she came out of her coma.
Wow.
Yes. So that is why.
But she was young.
Childbearing years. Yeah. So I always told my husband, if I ever go into a coma, get me pregnant and see if that works. And then we'll, he'll have to lay on my lifeless body and, try to get that going. But
that is so weird,
or I told you you're think I'm weird. Or they could do the artificial insemination stuff or whatever. But yeah, just get me pregnant and let's see if I get out of this thing.
Well,
that's how I was. That's how I was thinking.
It is a fact. And we have now, after 30 years or 40 years since I've had to deal with my parents that went through this over 20 years, learned that the brain is neuroplasticity and the brain can repair itself. So, and I have a friend locally whose son was probably maybe 40 and was hit by a car, and he was in a coma. The doctors kept saying he's going to die. He's not going to live. If he lives, he'll be a vegetable. And her answer was always, but God. But God. And
but God what?
He's still in control.
Okay.
Just like you said earlier. So we were talking amongst ourselves, and Christina said, well, I'm just going to leave it up to God.
Yeah, I was just going to leave it up to faith. Whatever happens, if I'm on life support for 5 years or 25 days or 12 days or just 3 days and they harvest my organs and other people get to live longer, then that's what I was here for. I mean, her son came out of this coma. And he is not walking yet, but he is talking. He can remember everything. I mean, it took months of rehab. He's still in rehab, but she loved her son enough to be there for him and nurse him back to health. And he is out of the hospital, and it's a miracle to me. Well, if we have all these miracles and all these stories, then tell them what you just told me about.
Well, I went through.
Is it because of your age?
A lot of it is. I went through a couple of different experiences. My mother was 75. She had had 3 heart attacks, a couple of strokes. And today, that's very young to us. 75 is not old. I'm 65, and I don't feel like I'm 10 years away from death. But anyway, Mother had done a living will. We knew her wishes. She did not want to be on life support. One of my earliest memories, and I'm sure a lot of this stemmed from that, was her grandmother had had a stroke, probably in her 50s, And for 20 plus years, she laid in a bed comatose, a vegetable state.
20 years?
Oh, yeah. This was back in the 60s. And
this was your mom?
My mother's grandmother.
Mother's grandmother. Oh.
And so I know that this was in my mother's mind. It was one of my earliest memories, is seeing this great grandmother of mine just laying in a bed, unable to do anything. And I didn't know at the time. She couldn't breathe on her own? Well, I think she could, because I don't remember. They had her at home. And these were my mother's sisters. There was like 13 of these children. And at that time, there was enough to go around to where you could share the responsibilities. The women didn't work out of the house like they do today. So they were able to keep her at home and take care of her. And I guess feed her, because I don't remember. Of course, I was very young. This was like 60s. So I was adolescence, and I don't remember a breathing apparatus. I don't remember a feeding tube or anything like that. So evidently they were able to caretake at home. But I think that weighed on my mother. She did not want to burden us as children to have to do something like that. And she had a living will. It was, we're from Louisiana, so the laws are different in every state. You'll have to check on your own state and see what the laws are. But she had handwritten out her wishes that she did not want to be put on life support if she was ever had a stroke or heart attack that left her disabled. And she did not want to live like that. She wanted to, we're Christians. We believe that once we depart from the body, we are present with the Lord. And so when she did have a stroke, she had a massive stroke, there was nothing we could do. She had been in the hospital for a few weeks. She had signed a DNR, do not resuscitate. And that's something that they're going to ask you. If you ever have a stroke or heart attack, and the paramedics come to get you, they're going to ask you, do you want to be resuscitated? If you're capable of answering. And when you're in that spot, now age does play a difference in this. You know, if you're 30,
for sure,
that's one thing. If you're 65 or older, that's another thing. You know, I've lived a full life. I'd love to live another 30 years if the Lord would allow me to live healthy and productive. But if I'm going to be in a comatose or a vegetable state, I would never want to put that burden on my husband. I don't have any children, but I have siblings. I have nieces and nephews. I would have to be in a care facility or something like that. And it's all about the quality of life. I know where I'm going to go when I die. So my wishes, and the minute that my husband and I could, after the death of my mother and daddy, my daddy died 6 months after my mother. So when Mama had that stroke, she was in the hospital. They knew they could not resuscitate her because of the DNR that she had signed. And we knew as children, there's 4 of us siblings, her children, that what we knew her wishes. We openly talk about death in our family. And we were not about to do anything that would go against what she wanted.
Okay, so let me ask you this question. So let's go back to your great-grandmother that was in the coma for 20 years. She wasn't in a coma.
No.
She had a stroke.
Probably a stroke. And
or
she
aneurysm or something like that. And she was in a vegetative state.
That's right.
Okay, so she could not move her body and she could not speak?
Correct.
Could she move her eyes?
I don't remember any of that.
You don't know?
I don't remember her. No, I don't remember her interacting at all.
So there's a lady right down the street in that situation. You know what I'm talking about?
No, in our community?
Yeah, my next door neighbor.
Oh, their mother. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
now she has dementia.
But she also had a stroke.
Okay.
And she had a stroke 3 years ago.
Okay.
And she cannot move. She cannot talk. And she barely even moves her eyes. She sits there. They have to physically pick her up out of the bed and put her in the wheelchair and put her in front of the TV. Yeah. They have to feed her and they have to change her diaper.
That's why I am a big proponent. I totally believe in having a end of life will. Give your next to kin, whether it's your spouse or children, or give them your health power of attorney along with your wishes and that living will, so that they can stop. Because there is a law now that says if an EMT, an ambulance, or you show up at a hospital, or they come to your house and get you, they can put you on life support for 20 days.
Okay.
And whether you're dead or not, whether you have any brain activity or not, they're going to put you on life support for 20.
Physically, like if you're like dead, your body's not going, the life support's not actually going to work.
I disagree.
Do you know what I mean?
Okay, so then I have another experience with my stepdaughter.
They have to get your heart to pump, and if you're like completely dead, your heart won't pump unless you have if you've had a heart attack in the past and you have a what's the thing that shocks you?
Pacemaker.
A pacemaker, and then that's a false. That's a false.
Well, so is life support. When my stepdaughter, who was 44, had a brain aneurysm, she was dead. I was confused. I was very distraught, thinking that she was still alive. And they were telling us at the hospital she has no brain activity. She is only breathing because we have her on this apparatus, this breathing machine. She is basically gone. And at that point, they just wanted to harvest her organs. But I didn't know that the verse kept coming to me, the life is in the blood. The life is in the blood.
Okay.
And I kept thinking, she can't get to heaven. She cannot get to Jesus because they're keeping the blood flowing through her body and keeping her alive here on earth when she should be able to go be with her Heavenly Father. And I had a great friend that contacted her pastor and called me back and said, no, Mary, you've got the verse wrong. It actually says the life of the body is in the blood.
Okay.
So once she had that aneurysm and her brain shut down, her spirit went to be with the Lord.
Right.
So that gave me so much peace. But it was still to watch your child that you have raised since she was a little bitty girl lay there for a week knowing she's gone, but they're keeping her body alive to harvest her organs. It was the most devastating thing I and her father had ever gone through. And that might sound selfish to some because you're a big proponent to and believe in harvesting organs and organ transplants and things like that. And I did at the time. I mean, you could look at my driver's license and I was an organ donor. But after going through this and seeing what my mother and daddy had gone through, we came back from my stepdaughter's funeral and we took ourselves off the donor list. I told my husband, I would never put you through this, and please don't put me through this. And he was the same way. So that's about the organ donor part. I have this wonderful friend who right now is having to make some tough decisions because her husband has had a stroke, and they're telling her he will always be on a breathing machine and he will never be able to function. And she and her children are having to make this difficult decision because they didn't have a living will. They didn't have any kind of health power of attorney. And of course, we're in the South. Again, the states are all different, and check your state to see what your laws are. But it's a very, very touchy situation and subject, and everybody is different. Everybody feels different about this. I was one that I never had my own children, so for years I thought, well, yes, just donate my body to science, but after seeing and experiencing, life experiences will certainly change.
They will change.
And as you get older, you're 40, I'm 65, so as we get older, those ideas change. We evolve. as you get older. And I'm just I'm not going to put my husband through putting me on life support, even to just take my organs. And that is a really brutal. If you've ever seen a body, my older sister is a hairdresser. So ever since I was a teenager, we would go in and do the hair and the makeup
you saw the
of our loved
bodies.
ones. Oh yeah, never afraid. As a matter of fact, I grew up behind a funeral home, in an old antebellum home.
Wow.
With 13-foot ceilings, and it was just as a matter of fact, I babysat. There was an apartment above this funeral home, and the young couple that was running this funeral home had 2 young children, and I couldn't have been 11 years old. And I was babysitting on top of this funeral home for these children. I've never been afraid of death. Death has never scared us. We've always talked about death because I knew what was on the other side, or that's my belief. And it's just pretty wild, you know, the things that you can deal with. I was never afraid of death. So,
yeah. Well, thank you for sharing your story.
Yeah, thank you.
What I want y'all to do is just comment down below, are you going to be an organ donor? And if so, tell me why. Down there in the comments. I had a point. When you have a stroke, what was the other thing I said earlier?
Aneurysm, brain bleed, or
and things like that. And your body may be halfway disabled or all of it or whatever. And let's say they put you on life support because they think you needed it or whatever, just to help you get extra oxygen, just so you can heal or whatever. Okay. Let's say, okay, let's take her off. Let's take her off of life support, and you know, we've said everything we want to her. You know, let's just leave it in God's hands, and she doesn't die. You don't pass away. You're still there. You're still breathing on your own. Your organs are still working. You're still, you know, using the restroom and everything. So the only way you would physically die is to starve to death. Do you want that?
Yeah, that's basically what happened to my mother. I know it was hard. It was hard. I'm telling you, it's either way. These are hard, major. We're talking deep. This is deep stuff.
I'm not gonna starve to death. That's a really bad pain.
The only alternative was for my mother to live in a vegetative state where she couldn't speak and she couldn't walk, and she was having to be fed with whether with a tube or by mouth if she was able to. She was breathing on her own. They never put her on any kind of life support, because that was, when you have a living will, then that is the law. You know, that's what they have to go by.
Yeah.
And when she went into the hospital to have these procedures that led up to this, she had signed a DNR, do not resuscitate. If I have a stroke or heart attack, do not resuscitate. And that's what that's all about, because she knew that if she was to have a stroke, that she could be partially paralyzed, or what. She just wanted to be with her Lord. I mean, she just, and
I mean, I completely get that.
That it was really tough. Now, don't get me wrong. Yeah. When they called and said your mom's had a stroke, there were 4 of us in 4 different states that got in there as soon as we could to be with her. But we had to watch her die for 5 days. It took 5 days. But now when you have a stroke, your brain swells. Now they can do all that, just like my friend that is going through this. She is actually a donor recipient. And her husband now is fighting for his life.
Oh my goodness.
And in a comatose state, and they're telling her that there's no way he's ever going to be 100%. And so she and her children are having to make these awful, terrible decisions that are so difficult. That's why I say, talk about it before you get to that point. This young man, he's early 60s, maybe 62. And I mean, there's a lot of life left usually in somebody like that that's healthy. But once you've had a stroke, the brain has swollen. They've had to do a craniotomy where they cut part of the skull away so the brain has room to swell. once you lose part of your brain, you're going to lose part of your bodily functions.
Mm-hmm.
One way or the other.
We only use what percentage of our brain?
Oh, I don't know.
We only use like 15% of our brain or something like that.
Well, that might be in thinking or talking or something like that. But every part of your brain is important. If you lose one little cell or two of your brain, either your eyesight, your talk, your mobility, something is going to be affected because all of your brain is totally vital.
So it's viable, but it's not actually
it's
functioning.
Vital.
It's not actually no, because like you can get people that get shot in the head.
Well,
they're fine.
No, there's some residual problems.
I mean, there probably will be some residual problems, but
there's always going to be. As a matter of fact, we had a prayer meeting here at my house last night.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lady who's now 68. When she was 30, she had an aneurysm, a brain bleed.
Okay.
And they had written her off. The doctors are like, well, of course, this was 38 years ago. And they had written her off, said, she's going to be dead. Well, her mom was like, no. You keep her on life support. And she's doing great.
Right. What happened?
She has some issues. Her mother would not allow her husband.
Mm-hmm.
She had her first husband wanted to pull the plug.
Right.
And her mother kept saying, no. It took her years to come back. But she is functioning today. She's remarried. She's doing well. She serves in our church. She's a wonderful cook. She's a great friend. She was out here picking up pecans this morning. But her eyesight, is bad. The one eye doesn't work. She has some mobility issues.
Would you rather her live like that than be dead?
No. I would rather her, I'm sorry. You first said, would you rather her live like that?
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I said no, because I would rather her be whole, but I would rather her.
I thought you'd rather her be dead.
But
okay.
No, but she was 30.
Yeah.
See, if that happened to me at 65.
Right.
Would I have the 10 years to recuperate? Would I want to put my husband, who's 71, through that?
Right. Yeah.
When I know where I could be perfect?
Right. So let's go back to when you were telling me you didn't want to do that to your family.
Yeah.
You didn't want to put your family through that. So your perception of putting your family through that comes from your life box,
my experience.
Yeah, your experiences.
My life
and then
experiences.
I have mine.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's other people that have theirs. So let's just imagine your stepdaughter.
Mm-hmm.
What if she just disappeared? What if she just never came home? What if you never saw her again? Do you think that having the opportunity to say goodbye would be better than just having her gone, or a plane crash and you can't ever tangibly see her and talk to her? You know what I mean?
Well, once she had that aneurysm, she was gone.
But like her physical body was here.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people, they want to see, touch,
for
closure. Yes, that is their family. That's why we have wakes and funerals and all that. It's for the closure of the people that are still alive, not necessarily for the people that have passed, because there's nothing you can do at that point for their souls. And I just say that because I have family members that didn't have funerals.
Mm. Yeah, that's tough. I don't know how I would feel about. I mean, to lose somebody physically and not know what happened to them would be very devastating.
Yeah.
Probably more devastating than just knowing that she had a brain aneurysm, she had passed, and they had to keep her alive for a week to harvest her organs.
So they don't have to keep her alive for a week. Like, they don't physically require that.
It's not like the harvesting companies?
Yeah. It's
well,
not
I mean,
for
it
the
took
7
them
days.
that long to get there and get her. Yeah. Sometimes you wonder, why did it take that long?
Yeah, it does. It's not supposed to take that long.
Well, it did. It did. I mean, 5 days after the 2 days of, deciding that she is brain dead, she's not going to live.
I think maybe the director allowed that to happen. Maybe.
This is what our pastor is sharing with us now. Is there is a law, I don't know if it's the state of Mississippi or is this a federal law, that says if you do not have a living will or a power of attorney for your health, when you go into some kind of non-functioning health emergency and an EMT has to show up, or an ambulance, or you're at the hospital, the law is they have to try to resuscitate you.
Absolutely, yes.
They have to put you on some kind of life-saving, and that they can do that for 20 days.
My mother passed away from cancer, and there was 6 months, maybe, that she just laid in bed and died.
Yeah.
6 months, but she was alive, but she was dying.
Yeah. That brings up another issue my husband and I talked about just this week, after our friends are going through this, is for instance, if I had brain cancer, which is an awful way to die. I've never seen it. I've never had to deal with that personally. I just have known stories and family and friends that have had to deal with that it is the most awful way to die.
Is it?
Yeah, they say brain cancer has got to be the most excruciating way to die. I don't think there's enough morphine in the world to...
Why?
I don't know, sweetheart, other than, the brain it's just...
I think it depends on where in the brain it's at.
Okay, maybe.
Because of the receptors.
But I told my husband, I said, you would have to call Dr. Kevorkian or whoever is doing that now. There are 12 states in the United States that allow assisted suicide. I know. And I said, I don't know, is that a sin?
Of course. Yes.
To, when you are dying and in that much pain, to ask somebody, just shoot me up with morphine and let me go.
So when I say God's will, you also have to realize that every action has a reaction. So just because it's your time to go, you think it's your time to go, but it doesn't actually happen, and so you want to take your own life or whatever, then that's going to affect everyone else that's living, that knows you, that even heard about you at church and stuff. So if your actions put someone else in a negative state, that could actually harm their future, make them think, oh, it's okay to do this.
I agree.
Or just have that negative in the atmosphere at the time. It's not just you, is what I'm trying to say.
That's right.
And the fact that you're still physically living, God has not stopped your heart and brain or whatever from functioning, then that means the people around you are going to be affected. That is not always a bad thing, because it could actually be God, like God putting them in a situation to have those experiences to change the world.
I pray a lot of times when people are going through things like that. That is my prayer.
Yes.
Use this awful situation to draw someone that is not saved to you, Lord.
Yes.
Save that one person that is experiencing this. Use this for salvation to draw them to you. So you're right.
Yeah, don't you? Like God has a plan, right?
Yes, he does.
So if he has a plan, then why would assisted suicide ever even be there?
It's a selfish thing, isn't it?
It is very selfish.
Yeah. And I tend to be a little selfish.
I know.
But that's and another way it would be I don't want to bring all of this heartache on my husband. I don't want him to have to and then I hear that this happens a lot more than we think.
Yeah, I'm sure it does.
No, I'm talking about people that ask to just be shot at with a bunch of morphine and let me die.
Yeah, no.
And that's nobody even knows about. It's like, oh, she passed away. She passed away from brain cancer, or she peacefully passed away.
So
and what really happened was there was intervention.
Okay.
Medical intervention.
Let me tell you about my experience. When my mother passed away, she was on hospice, and she had the pain relievers and all that stuff, and she just fell down in the floor. My uncle called 911. They came and they tried to resuscitate her for 30 minutes to an hour. Like, it seemed like forever. And I'm like, she has terminal cancer. Why are you doing this?
So you were against them resuscitating her because you knew how
I
ill
knew she was. Even if she came back, she wouldn't be there.
Well,
because she was barely even there when she was alive. But
it happened naturally.
Yeah. But the fact is, they couldn't resuscitate her. They legally,
she was gone, and that was God. You feel like that was God's will for her to go at that time.
Yes,
I so understand that.
Yes,
that makes so much sense.
Yeah, but
it's an individual. Everybody is different, and at different times in your life, you're going to feel differently about things like this. But it's something to discuss with your family. That's the main point. Make your wishes known to your family. Discuss these things. Death is not the end. For those of us that believe in the life after, the Bible mentions life is a vapor. It's just like a poof. And it's compared to eternity. And those of us that are Christians and believe in heaven and God, we believe that we are eternal beings, and we will live perfectly after this. This is a fallen, sinful, sick world, and all of our bodies are going to give out and die eventually. But those of us that are believers, we don't fear that. Most of us don't fear death.
Right.
We look forward to that because we know that will transition us into that perfect body and that perfect life and being with our Lord. Talk to your family, talk to your parents. If your parents are older, find out their wishes so that when it comes time for you to have to make that decision amongst your siblings or by yourself, the wishes of your parents. I mean, that's just a huge thing for me.
I think it really depends on your faith.
That's a lot to do with it.
Because a lot of people don't believe as deeply as we do. And they may think of purgatory or some limbo land or spirit just hanging over you or whatever you may believe. I had an aunt that was in a nursing home for 3 years. On average, a lady would be in a nursing home for 2 to 5 years, so average 3 years. She was full of life in her mind. Like, she went back to like almost a kindergarten state, like a kid. Oh, I'm so excited. My pickles. Oh, just like all, super duper excited. But her body was deteriorating. And they would not allow, from the moment she went in, they would not allow her to even walk. She had to be in a wheelchair no matter what.
That's a liability issue.
Yeah.
If you go into a nursing home, they're going to put you in a wheelchair. If you have the least bit of
instability,
imbalance or anything.
Yeah.
They're going to put you in a wheelchair, which is awful.
Yeah, and I think that
because that's going to
brings you down
definitely.
way. Yeah, because
they say sitting is the new smoking.
Oh my gosh,
sitting is.
I'm sitting all the time.
Well, get up once every hour or two and walk around. Yeah, that's what they say about that. Yeah.
After visiting her for 3 years, and watching her deteriorate and everything, I think I'd rather her be there.
Well, I saw it 2 different ways. Let me share a short experience. My great aunt was in the nursing home, and she had dementia. She was happy. She was up walking and visiting all her friends. She could barely remember your name. She remembered my mama. She looked down at my mama and said, "You always did have big feet." I mean, she was so cute and so alive. Even though her mind wasn't all there. I don't know the end stages of that. I don't know exactly what happened because I lived off. But during the time I saw her, she had lost her mind, basically, but was still in a good spirit and able to move and mobile.
Yes.
And then you contrast that with my husband's father, who in his 30s was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis.
Okay.
And by the time he was in his 50s, he was immobile. He was having to be lifted out of his recliner with a machine and put into bed. He was having to wear diapers. He had 24/7 care. His mind was sharp as a tack. He knew us. He loved us. We had great reunions together, but his body wouldn't work.
Right.
And by the time he was in his 60s, he was in a nursing home, had drawn up into a fetal position and couldn't move, couldn't hardly swallow, but his eyes were those beautiful blue, alert. His mind was alert. He knew us. He couldn't talk.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Can you imagine?
I can. Yeah.
Being trapped in a body that doesn't work, but your mind is sharp as a tack.
Yeah.
I told my husband if I had any choice, I would be like my great aunt who had lost her mind but still had her body, instead of like my father-in-law who had a sharp, brilliant mind.
I can only imagine.
Was trapped in this body that didn't work. And what a devastating experience that was. So yeah, that's where some of these end of life decisions come, that it's so important that you talk to your loved ones and let them know what your wishes are. And if you don't know the Lord Jesus Christ, this is a perfect time.
It is.
Look into the Bible. Start with reading the book of John, and that'll change your entire outlook on your life, on the world.
What exactly in there tells you that? Like what?
Well, John is just a book of salvation. It begins with, in the beginning was God and the Word, which is Jesus. And it gives you all of the theological steps to become a Christian. That's John 3:16. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, who was Jesus of Nazareth, who died, and God rose him from the grave 3 days later. He died for our sins. God put all of our sins on him and sacrificed him. And he willingly went to the cross as a sacrifice with our sins so that we could be forgiven of those sins. And 3 days later, God raised him from the dead. He was truly dead for 3 days. And then God raised him up to show us that there is victory over death. Death is not the end. It's really the beginning. And we were all created for that. We are eternal beings, and we are going to spend somewhere for eternity after this life is over. And our wish is that you would know the Lord Jesus Christ is the only way to God and to heaven. And that's all in the Holy Bible. start there. This has been a heavy, hard,
it has.
deep
It's
discussion.
I don't. If you're still with us, guys, thank you so much for supporting us and actually thinking about this. Thank you so much for being here. We talked about so much today. But we just want to, I think we are doing this episode to ask you to go to your church, get saved, and think about what your family is going to want when it's time for you to pass away, and your loved ones that are out there, maybe not as healthy, maybe not as young. These are all things that we all need to be thinking about and have a plan and like figure out what you want in life for your like what would you want? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
What would you want?
And as
on the flip side, what would you want
change
when someone else passes away, and what would you want if you passed away? So it's two different things. And what if you have two different aspects? What if?
Well, it's a discussion.
Yes,
and it's an evolving discussion. It's an ongoing discussion, especially if you have children and a spouse and or a spouse. Continue that discussion. And as you age, your ideas change.
Yeah.
So that's why it's a continuing discussion. But have some documents in place. Have your wishes written down. That's the main thing. Is know what you want and know what your family wants. Thank you guys for being with us.
Yes, thank you so much, guys.
Y'all have a great day. Yeah. Like us, subscribe. Share.
Thanks.
See you later.
Thanks, guys.